Picture a 12-year-old mind operating like a steel trap. Raju was exceptionally bright, but that intelligence was completely hijacked by a singular, consuming drive, the need to possess everything he saw. When Raju looked at the world, he didn't see people or connections. He saw inventory. His brain automatically ran a constant calculus of ownership, assessing what belonged to others and scheming how to make it his own. This relentless drive to hoard turned his sharp mind inward. By viewing every interaction as an opportunity to extract value, he locked himself in a state of psychological isolation, leaving his internal world barren despite his cleverness. The rigidity of Raju's worldview was tested outside the village sweet shop. The owner, Thomas, was actively distributing free sweets to the local children, a direct physical demonstration of his Christian belief in selfless giving. For Raju, seeing unsecured goods triggered an override in his logic. The instinct to accumulate bypassed his usual caution, and he slipped behind the counter to quietly siphon off the entire remaining supply for himself. His hand was caught mid-theft. Raju froze, bracing for the screaming, the physical reprimand, and the public humiliation that normally follows a crime. Instead, Thomas smiled. He placed a hand gently on Raju's head and offered a quiet prayer, asking Jesus to help the boy understand that true happiness comes from sharing. Unearned forgiveness is devastating to a mindset built entirely on extraction. It provided undeniable proof that a person can hold power over a situation through grace rather than force, leaving Raju deeply ashamed and questioning his own survival instincts. Months later, the environment mirrored Raju's internal isolation. The region was gripped by a severe, life-threatening drought, stripping the village of its most basic resource. Raju watched his father work the fields, striking tools against earth that had turned to concrete. The physical toll was absolute, with crops failing and dust replacing the topsoil. This visualizes the symmetry between soil drought and Raju's character. As the water table drops, we see a similar depletion in Raju's empathy. Scarcity accelerates panic, pushing communities to double down on hoarding behaviors to survive a shrinking resource. But physical desperation strips away theoretical illusions. Staring at his exhausted father, Raju realized that his lifelong strategy of accumulating objects offered zero solutions. His internal greed had left him just as dry and powerless as the scorched fields around him. Seeking an answer, Raju found himself at the local church. The pastor was delivering a sermon centered on the stories of Jesus providing miraculous abundance, specifically focusing on water and sustenance. The sermon presented a stark operational logic. Divine provision is unlocked through selfless faith and a willingness to trust, while human failure is almost always rooted in fearful, isolated greed. That logic finally broke through Raju's defenses. No amount of stolen sweets or hoarded trinkets could force the sky to rain or save a dying ecosystem. He walked out of the church alone, standing in the middle of cracked, dead fields. Surrounded by the devastating scale of the drought, he fully internalized his own absolute powerlessness. He reached his breaking point. If he wanted any hope of saving his world, or himself, he had to completely abandon his lifelong strategy of selfish accumulation. The barren field was still. Raju closed his eyes, let his hands drop to his sides, and initiated the first genuinely selfless action of his entire life. He prayed desperately to Jesus, asking for rain to save his family and his village. For the first time, his request contained absolutely no demand for personal wealth, status, or objects. In that silence, he made a concrete vow. He would permanently renounce greed as the driving force of his decision-making. This was true surrender. He wasn't trying to negotiate a transaction. He was entirely relinquishing the illusion that he could control his environment by hoarding what little was left. Then the tension broke. A low rumble of thunder rolled, followed immediately by the violent strike of a heavy raindrop against the dry earth. The skies suddenly opened up, releasing a torrential downpour. The physical release of the rain washed over the fields, mixing with the tears of a weeping, deeply relieved Raju. In the months that followed, Raju's actions looked nothing like the boy he used to be. When he encountered a child with nothing to eat, he didn't calculate the cost of his own loss. he simply split his portion and gave it away. Raju discovered that trying to own everything is a shortcut to an empty heart. It was only by letting go of that control and choosing the vulnerability of the open hand that he finally felt a sense of genuine, lasting peace.